it's Mo. This video is going to have two parts. One part will be talking about the Read What You Own challenge, which was started by Criminali and has been picked up by many people this year. I will also be participating in this challenge. And the other part will be my last recently acquired books for 2022. In 2022, I did recently acquired books videos every month, and I kept a recently acquired books spreadsheet. You can see a video all about my spreadsheet down below. First, let's hear about my Read What You Own challenge. The Read What You Own challenge was started by Ollie at Criminali, and he did this for himself, I think, last year in 2021, and then he decided to do it again in 2022, and it has expanded to be a booktube event, a booktube challenge where you challenge yourself to read what you own before you buy new books. Ollie is trying to read 100 books before he buys a book, although I have a feeling that everyone who does this challenge is going to extend it a little bit, but he's also created tiers, so there are different tiers for how many books you want to read of your own before you're able to buy new books. The first tier is bronze, and that is to read 25 books of your own off your own shelves before you can buy any new books or bring in any new books. The second tier is 50, the third tier is 75, and I think platinum tier is 100 books. Of course, some people have taken this to extreme and trying to read 500 books before they acquire any new books. I want to join this challenge, but the thing is that I don't really buy that many new books. In 2022, I have bought quite a few used books. I have picked up many books for free in 2022. You can see my recently acquired books video hauls listed in a playlist down below. I do plan on continuing my RAB spreadsheet to a certain degree in 2023, but I think that this Read What You Own challenge nestles perfectly into plans that I already had. I am participating in the Read What You Own challenge, and I am starting now when this video goes out. My Read What You Own challenge is going to be slightly different. Everyone has their own rules and addendums and allowances in their Read What You Own challenge, and of course I'm going to have some as well. I'm going to start off with bronze tier, trying to read 25 of my own books before I acquire any more books. I do secretly really want to read 50 before I acquire any more, but since I have a bunch of caveats, which I will go over in a second, we're going to start with 25. Some of the rules for my own Read What You Own challenge are no buying books off the internet. My plan is to not use any used book sites to buy any books off the internet until I read 25 books, or hopefully 50. Rule number 2 is to try to listen to audiobooks that I own physical copies of. So I usually read between 1 and 4 audiobooks per month, and a lot of times I use the free audio sites that I find to read books that I don't actually own so that I can read books that I want but I don't have. But for this challenge, I'm going to try and read at least half of the audiobooks that I listen to from physical books that I already own. I do this as well regularly, but there will be months that I'll just listen to audiobooks that I don't own, so I'm not diminishing my physical TBR at all while I'm reading those audiobooks. And the whole idea of this challenge is to diminish your physical TBR. So if I read 1 audiobook a month, it will have to be a book that is off my shelves. If I read 2, I can choose to either read one off my shelves to help myself along with the challenge or not. If I read 3, etc., etc., etc. The main way that I acquire books is from little free libraries, and I have tried in the last couple of months to greatly pare down the books that I get from little free libraries, only taking books that I really want to read or that I think are going to be hard to find or that I have been anticipating reading for some time, and not just picking up any random book that I feel like just because it's there. So part of my Read What You Own Own rules is going to be that I have to really assess what books I pick up from little free libraries. I will try very hard to only pick up books that I actually want to read soon and I want to get to soon, that I have been greatly anticipating, or that I know will be hard to find in other places like used bookstores. For rule number 3, if I pick up books from little free libraries, they go on my TBR, no harm, no foul. The other way that I get most of my books is going to library book sales, community book sales, and things like that. Now, for rule number 4, I am still going to be able to purchase books at book sales because book sales come up when they come up. You can't help it. It's just fate of how you get books when you're a book forager like I am. So I can't deny myself book sales. I don't want to deny myself book sales, but what I will say is that if I go to a library book sale and I pick up books because they're there, they get subtracted from the books I've already read from the challenge or added to the challenge. If I've read 10 books off my shelf already, but I go to a sale and pick up 10 books, it cancels out the 10 books that I've read. They get added back to the 25 number that I need to read. So it's kind of a one in, one out idea, but it does mean that my 25 book goal could climb dramatically because I sometimes pick up a lot of books at these sales. The caveat to this rule is that if it's a book that I collect, like vintage Christie books or vintage Vonnegut books, they don't count because they don't go on my TBR normally anyway. They just go right onto my red shelf where I keep those collections. And rule number 5 is all about independent bookshops. So I don't go to independent bookshops that often, but sometimes I do find myself there. Then sometimes there are books that I want to buy. But it'll be the same as a library book sale. If I end up at a used bookstore and I find books that I just can't let go and need to purchase, then they're going to take away books that I've already read from the challenge or add books depending on how many books that I've read. So those are my 5 rules for the Read What You Own challenge, and that challenge for me starts now. But before it officially starts, I'm going to let future me take you to my December recently acquired books and all the books that I picked up in December before starting the Read What You Own challenge. Because of my Read What You Own challenge, I will not be collecting as many books next year, I hope. And I will not be doing monthly recently acquired books videos. They are popular on the channel, but they are not necessarily something that I want to promote. I will be doing a full video on my new 2023 recently acquired books spreadsheet and all my ideas for RAB 2023. But first, let's talk about the last books that I got in 2022. These are all the books that I have gotten in December. The first book that I got was The Oxbow Incident by Walter Van Tilburg Clark. This is a Western and I think considered like a modern classic. This book actually isn't for me, it's for my husband. He picked this one up, but the back did sound quite interesting, although it sounds like it's going to be a fairly gory read. So I might read this after my husband is done with it. At the Wall Library sale, I got Below by Laurel Hightower. I've been wanting to read a Laurel Hightower. She's been kind of popular on BookTube this year and she does short horror novellas. This is the one for me because this is about the Mothman. I like Mothman imagery and I like Mothman legends. I really like playing Fallout 76 when you get to see the Mothman. I also picked up The Island of Sea Women by Lisa C. This one was on my want to read list for a really long time. It's quite a chunker for me, just under 400 pages. This is a historical fiction about women in China who are pearl divers, but that's all I know about it. I picked up an NYRB book. This is Berlin Alexanderplatz by Alfred Doblin. This is a translated work and all I know about it is that it's NYRB. It's another chunky one. I pick these up when I see them at little free libraries or book sales because half the time they're amazing. I got The Circular Staircase by Mary Roberts Reinhardt. This is a very strange Dover edition. It's quite modern and it's looks like it's brand new, never been read. I'm excited to read more Mary Roberts Reinhardt. Just a few days ago, I watched Bob the Booker do a video where he talked about On Chisel Beach by Ian McEwan. I added it to my want to read list right away, and then like 2 days later I found this cute little deckled edges hardcover edition in a little free library. I was super excited to find this one. I love Paul Auster, and I was excited to find Moon Palace in a little free library. This is one of his older books. I don't know what it's about, but it is one of his older books that I haven't read yet. In a little free library, I found Winter's Tales by Karen Blixen or Isak Dinesen. This is a collection of short stories. I do actually already have this book in another edition, but I thought this Penguin Modern Classic Edition was pretty cute too. They're very different lengths, so I was going to compare them, see if they have the exact same stories in them, and either keep both for my Isak Dinesen collection or maybe get rid of one or the other. A few months ago, my husband and I were talking about The Secrets of NIMH. I remember this animated movie being really terrifying when I was a kid, and I do remember getting read this story, but I really couldn't remember anything about it. We thought we found it a few months ago, and that's why we were talking about it, but what happened was that was like a sequel, so we ended up putting that one back in a little free library. But the other day, I found The Secrets of NIMH by Robert C. O'Brien, which is also called Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH. So I wanted to pick it up. It's a middle grade book, so it'll be a quick one to read through. At a little free library in Ocean Grove, New Jersey, I found 1,000 Mornings, Poems by Mary Oliver. Mary Oliver is credited as one of the greatest nature poets, and I've never read any of her work. This copy was really getting water damaged and battered in the little free library, so I thought it was meant to come home with me. In a little free library in Asbury Park, New Jersey, I got Chosen by the Lion by Linda Craig. I actually have no idea what this is about. It is a poetry collection as well. I've never heard of Linda Craig, but I wanted to pick it up. It was a really nice edition and a really interesting kind of large format size, and it just struck me as something I would want to read. In that same little free library, I got Fruit of the Lemon by Andrea Levy. I've been interested in Andrea Levy since hearing about Small Island, which is her most notable work. I haven't found that one yet, but when I saw Fruit of the Lemon, it has a really cute cover, it has French flaps, it has deckled edges, and I thought I would get this one and I would read this first, and then if I'm still interested in Small Island, I'm sure I can find it eventually. One of the last books that I picked up in the month is Warriors Don't Cry, a searing memoir of the battle to integrate Little Rock's Central High by Melba Patillo Beals. This is a memoir of one of the people who was involved in the civil rights movement of being allowed to go to an integrated high school. There's famous photos and reports from this time, and this is in her own words. This has been on my want to read list for quite a long time, so I'm super happy to see it and pick it up. At that same little free library, I also got Cosmos by Carl Sagan. Now, I've never been a fan of Carl Sagan just because I've never watched any of Cosmos and I have never read any of Carl Sagan's work. I did see the movie Contact, but I don't know if that really counts. But this was such a cool book with color and black and white photos, and it seemed like a kind of accessible read, which I guess is what Carl Sagan is known for doing for science. At the Wall Library sale, I found a couple of cat cozy mysteries. I found Murder Past Due by Miranda James. This is one that gets recommended to me a lot. Since I am still doing some cat cozy mystery vlog series projects, I thought I would definitely have to get this one. One that I have not heard of was How to Wash a Cat by Rebecca M. Hale. This, again, was at the Wall Library sale and is a cat cozy mystery. At the Wall Library sale, I also got A.E. von Voigt's The House That Stood Still, mostly because this was kind of an amazing cover and it just looked like a fun vintage sci-fi. It's very, very short, and I remember reading the back and thinking it sounded good, but I don't remember anything else about that. We also got a copy of Robert Louis Stevenson's The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think I've read this before, and my husband thinks that he's read it before, but we were talking about it and we really couldn't remember it. It's so short, and we thought it would be a good one to have since we don't already have it on our shelves. I also recently got Mary Riley, which is a reimagining of this story through one of the lesser characters' eyes. So it would be kind of fun to read this and Mary Riley at the same time. I haven't read a Jean Rhys book yet, but I just cannot resist picking up her work, and I just think she's going to be a favorite author of mine, but I have to get started reading her books. I did get Good Morning Midnight, which is one of her more well-known works, at the Wall Library sale. I probably will read Wide Sargasso Sea before I read this one. Hopefully I will love her, and I will be so happy that I have all these copies of her books. At a library sale in Howell, I got The Legacy of Lost Things. I really don't remember what this is, except I think it has something to do with an Armenian-American family, and it sounded kind of interesting when I read the back. At my local Cookman Little Free Library, I got Henry and June. This is from the unexpurgated Diary of Anais Nin. I remember watching the movie of Henry and June and really enjoying it. It was made in the late 80s or early 90s. It has Uma Thurman in it, and it's queer themed, of course, but I didn't know at the time about Anais Nin and her writing, and ever since I found out about it through the movie, I've been interested in reading some Anais Nin, but I've never had the opportunity to pick some up. So I thought this part of her diary, which is what was translated into the movie, would be a good one to start reading, and then that way I can go back and watch the movie, which I haven't seen in very many years. At that same Little Free Library, I got Close Up by Amanda Quick. I've seen quite a few Amanda Quick books around. She is a contemporary writer writing historical fiction, mostly set in the teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s, and this one takes place in the 1920s and has to do with a, I think, down on her luck showgirl and a serial killer. At the Wall Library sale, I got Just Kids by Patti Smith. I'm not a Patti Smith fan, but I've heard that her memoirs are pretty amazing, and I heard that this is the one to start with. I also always pick up any British library crime classics that I see when I go to book sales. So at the Wall Library sale, I got It Walks by Night, a Paris mystery by John Dickinson Carr. I don't think I have any other Carr books, but I know that there are a couple of other ones of his in this series. I love these editions. I just think they're so fun to read, and I love that they were bringing back Golden Age mysteries. At the Wall Library sale, I also got Mountain Wind Song, a novel of the Trail of Tears by Robert J. Conley. This is an Own Voices fictionalized account of the Trail of Tears. I've heard good things about this one. I did a little bit of research right after I got it to just make sure that this wasn't another person posing as an Indigenous person, but this one seems legit. If you know otherwise, definitely let me know. At the Howell book sale, I also got The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I have never read any Moreno Garcia, but I'm interested in quite a few of her things. Not Mexican Gothic, but a lot of the other books that she's written I've been interested in, but this one I've been the most interested in. This came out in 2022, and it is a reimagining, retelling of The Island of Dr. Moreau as told by his daughter. So I'm so interested to see where this goes, because The Island of Dr. Moreau is one of my all-time favorite sci-fi books, one of my favorite books probably of all time. I'm interested to see what a historical fiction, modernly written book has to say on these subjects. I cannot remember where I got The Secret of Chimneys by Agatha Christie, but this is such a great old edition. It's held together with a rubber band, although it looks like it's not in the worst shape, honestly. It does have sprayed edges. I'm not familiar with this story, but since so many of her stories have alternate titles, American versus British, or they were changed over time, this is probably one that I've heard of. I picked up Welcome to the Monkey House. This one is in fairly terrible condition, but it is an old copy of Kurt Vonnegut's short stories, and I collect all old Kurt Vonnegut books. This one won't go on my TBR, and actually the Agatha Christie probably won't go on my TBR either. They will just go in my vintage book collection. And the same goes for this copy of Murder at the Vicarage. I actually saw this in a Little Free Library in Ocean Grove and didn't pick it up, and then the next time I went there, more than a month later, it was still there, so I decided to grab it. It has quite an amazing cover. a ominous looming gun coming through a window. I've already read Murder at the Vicarage, but I would love to reread this at some point, and like I said, I collect vintage mass market paperbacks of Christie books. Those were all the books that I have collected in December. It is not the end of December yet, but I'm definitely not planning on getting any other books, as you heard about my Read What You Own challenge. Let me know if you are planning on doing the Read What You Own challenge in 2023. Let me know if you are doing it, if you've already started it and how it's going so far, and let me know what the best book that you acquired in December was. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!